Have you ever noticed this strange paradox? The harder you try to make people like you, the less they actually do. You smile when they cut you off in traffic. You nod politely when someone steals your idea. You laugh along when the joke is clearly at your expense. And yet, despite all this effort, despite bending over backwards to be liked, somehow, you're still invisible. Now compare that to the person who doesn't seem to try at all. The one who walks into a room and people instinctively pause. They don't interrupt him. They don't waste her time. They're not necessarily richer, smarter, or more talented. But somehow, they carry something you don't. And that something is respect. Here's the hard truth. Being liked and being respected are not the same thing. In fact, chasing approval often kills respect. Because when people sense that your number one goal is to be liked, they realize something dangerous. You're willing to sacrifice your self-worth to earn their approval. And once they sense that weakness, they exploit it. Think about it. Who do you truly respect in your life? Is it the person who agrees with everything you say, who never challenges you, who bends whenever you push? Or is it the person who stands firm, who doesn't flinch when you disagree, who doesn't crumble when you disapprove? Respect isn't born from being agreeable. It's born from being undeniable. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two coworkers. The first says yes to everything, stays late, covers extra work, never complains, always tries to keep everyone happy. Nice guy, right? But deep down, nobody fears disappointing him because they know he'll just keep saying yes. Now look at the second coworker. She's helpful, but she has limits. If you waste her time, she calls it out. If you cross a boundary, she enforces it. She doesn't care if you roll your eyes or gossip behind her back. She won't bend. Who do people respect more? The one begging for approval? Or the one who shows she doesn't need it? Here's the paradox most people never see. Chasing approval equals weakness. It tells the world, your opinion of me is more valuable than my opinion of myself. Commanding respect equals strength. It tells the world, my value isn't negotiable. This is why the most respected people often aren't the most liked. And ironically, the people who stop caring about being liked usually end up being liked more. Because respect is magnetic. It pulls people in, while desperation pushes them away. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote 500 years ago, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Now he wasn't saying you should be cruel or a tyrant. What he meant was this: love without respect is fragile. But respect, even without love, is powerful. If people like you but don't respect you, they'll walk over you with a smile on their face. But if people respect you, even if they don't particularly like you, they'll think twice before crossing you. So ask yourself, are you tired of being liked but not taken seriously? Are you ready to stop being the backup plan and start being the first choice? Because the moment you stop chasing approval and start prioritizing respect, is the moment your entire life begins to change. Now, before we move on, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments: respect over approval. Because the second you choose respect over being liked, you're choosing power over weakness. Here's the biggest mistake nice people make. They think respect is earned by kindness. But respect isn't given. It's enforced. Every single person in your life right now, your coworkers, your friends, your family, they all know one simple thing about you: whether crossing you costs them nothing or everything. If there are no consequences, people will test you. And if you let it slide, you've just trained them that disrespect is free. Think about the last time someone wasted your time. Maybe they showed up late, again. Maybe they canceled on you last second. Maybe they dismissed your opinion in front of everyone. And you smiled. You said it's fine. You laughed it off. What you didn't realize is that in that moment, you were teaching them something. You were showing them that your time, your voice, your respect has no price tag. It's free. And when something is free, people stop valuing it. Now picture someone else. Someone who doesn't let things slide. When you waste their time once, they don't invite you again. When you speak over them, they pause. And the silence is heavier than words. When you flake on them, they stop rearranging their schedule for you. No shouting. No drama. Just consequence. And guess what happens? People adjust. Suddenly, they start showing up on time. They start listening when that person speaks. They think twice before crossing the line. Why? Because boundaries backed by consequences create respect. Human psychology is simple. Behavior without cost equals behavior repeated. Behavior with cost equals behavior corrected. This is why people often treat the nicest person the worst, because they know nothing will happen if they cross them. The safe person becomes the one who gets disrespected the most. But the second you attach a cost, even something small like withdrawing your time, your energy, or your presence, people learn very quickly that your respect isn't free. And once they learn that, everything changes. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Fear here doesn't mean terror. It means consequence. It means people know there's a cost to crossing you. That subtle fear of loss is what transforms politeness into real respect. So ask yourself, where in your life have you been giving away free passes? Who has been crossing your boundaries without ever paying a price? Because until you attach consequences to your boundaries, they're not boundaries at all. They're just wishes. From now on, every time someone crosses you, don't explain. Don't argue. Don't plead. Just enforce. Quietly. Swiftly. Relentlessly. And watch how fast the people around you start treating you like someone who matters. Here's the brutal truth. If you're obsessed with being liked, you're not in control of your life. Someone else's. Think about it. If someone's opinion can change your mood, if their approval can make your day, and their disapproval can ruin it, then who's really holding the remote to your emotions? Not you. Them. And once people realize that you crave their approval, they can control you without even trying. Let's get real. You dress a certain way, not because you like it, but because you don't want others to judge. You hold back opinions in conversations because you're afraid someone might disagree. You post on social media, then sit there refreshing, waiting for likes and comments to confirm you're enough. Do you see it? Every single move is dictated not by what you want, but by how others will react. That's not freedom. That's psychological slavery. Now let me show you the other side. Picture someone who doesn't need external approval. They say what they mean, without scanning the room for reactions. They wear what they like, and if you don't approve, that's your problem. They move through life as if the world revolves around their internal compass, not the crowd's applause. Notice how much power that person has. People lean in when they speak. They respect the self-assurance. They can't be manipulated, because no one else controls their sense of worth. Here's the trap. People pleasers think they're keeping peace. But really, they're handing over control. Every time you bite your tongue instead of saying the truth, you hand someone else a little piece of your power. Every time you bend your standards so no one gets upset, you hand over another piece. Until eventually, you look in the mirror and realize you're not living your life anymore. You're living the version of your life other people allow you to have. Machiavelli had a rule: control the frame or be controlled. If you don't define the terms of how people treat you, they will define it for you. And I promise you, they won't define it in your favor. Control isn't about dominating others. It's about refusing to let others dominate you. So here's the question you need to ask yourself tonight. Who's holding the remote to my emotions? Because if it isn't you, then you're living as a puppet, and the strings are approval. Take the remote back. Stop being predictable. Stop being controllable. Your life isn't a democracy where everyone else gets a vote. It's a monarchy, and you're the ruler. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Your brain is addicted to approval the same way a junkie is addicted to a drug. And just like any addict, you'll do things you swore you wouldn't, just to get that next hit. Here's how it works. Every time someone gives you a compliment, likes your photo, or nods at your opinion, your brain rewards you with a little chemical hit of dopamine. That hit feels good, so you chase it. But the problem? Dopamine doesn't care about your dignity. It doesn't care if you had to betray yourself, bite your tongue, or lower your standards to get it. It just wants the hit. So you become trapped in a cycle. Seek approval. Get dopamine. Feel good for a moment. Crash. Seek more approval. And just like a drug, the more you chase it, the weaker you get. Think about social media. You post a photo. At first, the likes flood in. Dopamine spikes. You feel unstoppable. But a few hours later, the likes slow down. Suddenly, you feel restless, anxious, empty. So what do? You post again. You tweak your persona. You try harder. Because you're desperate for that next little hit of validation. It's not just online. It's everywhere. At work, you work late not because you want to but because you want your boss to notice. In relationships, you stay quiet when you're disrespected because you don't want to risk losing approval. Everywhere you turn, the addiction whispers, just one more hit. And here's the darkest part. People who sense your addiction will use it against you. The boss who knows you crave praise will overload you with work, knowing you'll never say no. The partner who knows you fear rejection will cross boundaries, confident you'll forgive them every time. The so-called friends who know you hate conflict will keep you as the backup plan, always dangling just enough approval to keep you hooked. That's not respect. That's exploitation. And your addiction is the leash around your neck. Machiavelli understood human weakness better than anyone. He knew that the easiest way to control someone isn't through force, it's through their desires. And approval? That's the most powerful desire of all. Break free from it, and you become untouchable. Stay addicted to it, and you'll always be someone else's pawn. So I'll ask you right now, are you living for respect, or are you living for a dopamine hit? Because if it's dopamine, then you're not free. You're chained to every opinion, every reaction, every little crumb of validation people decide to throw your way. But once you step off the hamster wheel of approval, something powerful happens. You stop chasing. You start commanding. And that is where real respect begins. This addiction doesn't start when you're an adult. It starts when you're a child. Think about it. When you got good grades, you got praise. When you behaved, you got approval. When you didn't, the approval was withdrawn. Your young brain learned fast. Approval equals survival. And now, as an adult, the same wiring controls you. You don't even realize it. But every time someone frowns, disagrees, or disapproves, your brain panics like a child afraid of losing love. That's why you fold. That's why you people please. You've been programmed. Take relationships. Have you ever seen someone stay in a toxic situation just because they're terrified of losing approval? They'll swallow lies, accept betrayal, even beg to stay, all for one reason. Their self-worth is tied to another person's validation. That's not love. That's addiction disguised as affection. Here's the cruelest part of the cycle, the crash. That moment when the likes stop, when the compliments fade, when the people you've bent over backwards to please go silent. Suddenly, you're left with the withdrawal, the emptiness, the ache for the next hit. And in that moment, you do almost anything to get it back. That's why approval seeking is the most dangerous addiction of all, because unlike drugs, the supply is controlled by other people. They decide when you get your next fix. And that makes them the dealer, and you the addict. So ask yourself, do you want to live your whole life begging for the next hit? Or do you want to break the cycle and walk away free? Because when you kill the addiction to approval, you don't just gain self-respect. You gain leverage. You become untouchable. Now that you understand the addiction, it's time for something darker, the rules. Because respect doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you play the game strategically. And some of the most powerful people in history followed a set of rules that were cold, ruthless, and brutally effective. I call them the Machiavellian rules. Here's the first rule: speak less than necessary. The more you talk, the more people learn how to predict you, manipulate you, dismiss you. But when you speak less, when your words are rare, people lean in. They wait for your opinion. They respect the silence more than the noise. Think about the most respected people you know. They don't babble. They choose words like a weapon, sharp, precise, devastating when necessary. The second rule: boundaries mean nothing without enforcement. We already covered this. But here's the Machiavellian twist. Don't just enforce unpredictably. Sometimes you let small things slide, sometimes you don't. That unpredictability keeps people on edge. It forces them to treat you carefully because they never know when the line will cost them. Predictability breeds comfort. Unpredictability breeds respect. Third rule: scarcity. What's rare is respected. What's common is ignored. If you give unlimited access to your time, your attention, your energy, people take it for granted. But when you limit access, when you're not always available, when your presence feels like a privilege instead of a guarantee, people begin to treasure it. They fight for it. Scarcity is why diamonds are valued more than rocks. Apply the same principle to yourself. Fourth rule: control the frame or be controlled. This means you decide how interactions are defined. If someone insults you and you laugh along, you've accepted their frame. that you're the punchline. If someone dismisses your time and you allow it, you've accepted their frame, that your time is worthless. But the Machiavellian player never accepts the frame given to them. They redefine it, subtly, powerfully. And once you own the frame, you own the respect. Fifth rule, never reveal everything. Respect comes not from being an open book, but from being a puzzle others can't fully solve. The less people know about your weaknesses, your limits, your desires, the harder it is for them to control you. Mystery isn't emptiness, it's armor. Together, these rules create a simple formula. Speak less. Enforce boundaries. Be unpredictable. Be scarce. Stay mysterious. Follow them, and you stop playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess. So here's your assignment. For the next 24 hours, test just one of these rules. Speak less. Pull back your availability. Enforce a boundary. Watch how people's behavior shifts, almost instantly. Drop this in the comments if you're ready to start playing the game differently. I move by rules, not approval. Abraham Lincoln had a saying, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt." In cabinet meetings, he was often the quietest man in the room. But when he finally spoke, everyone listened. His silence wasn't weakness. It was power. He conserved his words so they carried weight. That's the lesson. If you want respect, don't flood the room with noise. Let your silence create gravity. Look at Steve Jobs. He was famous for his extreme standards. If you brought him an idea he didn't respect, he wouldn't sugarcoat it. He'd tell you it was garbage, sometimes brutally. Did people like it? No. But did they respect him? Absolutely. Why? Because his boundaries weren't negotiable. Jobs proved something simple. When people know that crossing your standards has consequences, they rise to meet them. Think of luxury brands like Rolex or Ferrari. They don't flood the market. They deliberately keep supply scarce. And because of that, people treat them like treasures. Now compare that to a product you see everywhere, available at any time. Nobody values it. Human beings work the same way. When you're always available, always saying yes, always accessible, your value drops. But the moment you become scarce, people suddenly realize your worth. Winston Churchill was a master at controlling the frame. During World War II, when Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, he reframed defeat as unthinkable. His words shaped the mindset of a nation. We shall never surrender. He didn't let fear define the frame. He defined it himself, and the people followed. That's what leaders do. They don't accept the reality handed to them. They create their own. Think about historical figures like Nikola Tesla. Mysterious, unpredictable, brilliant. People didn't fully understand him, and that mystery magnified his aura. Or even modern leaders who never reveal their full hand. They keep people guessing, which keeps them respected. Because once you're fully predictable, you're fully controllable. Mystery is the shield of the powerful. So here's the truth. People who live by these rules get treated differently. They're not liked by everyone, but they're respected by everyone. And in the long run, respect always outlasts approval. So, ask yourself, are you ready to stop playing the game blind and start playing by the rules? This is the final step, the transformation. Because everything we've talked about, respect versus approval, boundaries, control, addiction, Machiavellian rules, it all points to one thing. The shift from weak and overlooked to strong, respected, and psychologically free. Let's be honest. You know what it feels like to be overlooked, to speak and have your words ignored, to give and give, only to be taken for granted, to smile while people cross your boundaries, pretending it doesn't hurt. That's the life of someone addicted to approval. The invisible person, the backup plan, the one nobody fears disappointing. But here's the truth. That doesn't have to be your story. The moment you decide to stop begging for approval and start commanding respect, something shifts. Your posture changes. Your voice steadies. Your presence grows heavier. You stop chasing people. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop explaining why you deserve respect, and you simply expect it. And when people feel that shift, they treat you differently. Picture yourself walking into a room. In the past, you'd skin faces, hoping they'd smile, hoping they'd like you. Now, you don't even think about it. You walk in calm, steady, and self-assured. You don't chase the room's approval. The room adjusts to yours. That's the transformation. From overlooked to undeniable. Here's the real prize: freedom. When you stop caring about approval, you're free. Free to say no without guilt. Free to speak the truth without fear. Free to live on your terms, not on the leash of validation. That's what respect really gives you. Not just status, not just power, but psychological freedom. So the question is, are you ready to step into that transformation? Because the weak version of you, the one chasing approval, begging for crumbs of validation, that version has to die for the strong version to be born. And remember, people may like you today and hate you tomorrow. But respect? That lasts forever. Every great story has a transformation. The weak become strong. The invisible become undeniable. The overlooked become respected. And your story starts now. For too long, you've been the nice one, the agreeable one, the one who bent, folded, and sacrificed just to be liked. And what did it get you? People showing up late without apology. Partners who stopped appreciating you. Friends who only called when they needed something. A life where you gave everything and got scraps in return. That old self was a prisoner, chained to approval, desperate for validation, terrified of rejection. But here's the truth. That version of you has served its time. And now it dies here. The moment you stop caring about approval, you rise. You stand taller. Your voice steadies. Your presence becomes magnetic. People can feel it before you even speak. You're no longer asking for permission to exist. You walk into rooms differently. You move through life differently. You no longer chase people, people adjust to you. This is the transformation from powerless to powerful. From pawn to player. From invisible to undeniable. Imagine waking up tomorrow without the craving for approval. You say no without guilt. You enforce boundaries without hesitation. You speak the truth, even if it shakes the room. And instead of losing people, the right people start gravitating to you. Because real ones don't respect your weakness, they respect your strength. This isn't just confidence. This is psychological freedom. Respect isn't about being loud. It isn't about being feared like a tyrant. It's about living so authentically, so unapologetically, that people have no choice but to recognize your worth. And the moment you embrace that, you'll look back and wonder why you ever begged for approval in the first place. So here's the line in the sand. Approval or respect, weakness or power, prison or freedom. The choice is yours. But here's the truth. Transformation isn't just about respect. Respect is the foundation, the beginning. What comes next is power. Because once people respect you, the real game begins. Influence, persuasion, control. Not just surviving in the social world, but dominating it. And in the next video, I'll show you how the very same rules used by kings, CEOs, and master manipulators can be used by you to bend the game in your favor. Respect is the first step. Power is the next.